Good afternoon and welcome to You and Your Business with me, Alec on 103.2 Dublin City FM. Each week I invite an expert from the world of business to share their knowledge, insights and tips to help you with your business challenges. If there's a topic you would like covered, or if you feel that you can make a contribution, please email me at yourbusiness@dublincityfm.ie and perhaps we'll be chatting here one day soon. My guest today is the Lead Supply Manager Ireland for Paragon Customer Communications. He has 30 years experience in marketing and communications, and he's also an avid coach for Sea Point Rugby Club. I'm delighted to welcome Garrett Hughes to the You and Your Business studio. Hiya, Garrett.
Well, good afternoon, Alec, and thank you very much for having me on, is all I can say. What a lovely introduction.
Having you on, yeah. I nearly wrote it myself. There we go. Anyway, Garrett, as you know, the premise of this program is always to find out more about business people, and it always starts back at school. Take me back to your last year in school. Were you heading off for academia or touring the world, or what was on your mind?
Oh, do you know what? Maybe I'm sorry I didn't tour the world. I went into the world of academia and joined Dundalk Regional Technical College at the time, now Dundalk IT, to study business and finance.
Wow. Okay. Business finance. What lured you into that sort of area of study?
You know what? It's like a stairs. It was the first step in the rung of the ladder. I wanted to go into business. I wanted to go into sales and marketing, follow my father's footsteps. And it was one of the only colleges that would have me. And I had some personal ties with Dundalk, a great old town back in the late 1980s.
Oh, fantastic. So your father obviously had an influence in you moving into business. And I see that quite a lot when I meet entrepreneurs.
He worked for PJ Carroll's back then, who had a very large factory in Dundalk. PJ Carroll started up in Dundalk, and he was very much into brand management and customer service. So I think that's where I got it from. He was well able to talk, a little bit like yourself and myself, Alec.
Okay, so some of it rubbed off. So how long did you spend up in Dundalk then?
I was 3 years studying full-time in Dundalk, and I kind of hung around for 4. I travelled up every weekend because I played a lot of rugby there, Towns Cup rugby up with the Dundalk Rugby Club. Very, very great memories of the 4 years, and had a number of pals up there.
Oh, fantastic. So, nice social life and all. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
But you then moved into finding a bit more out about marketing and went to DIT then in Mountjoy Square.
I did. I finished college in 1990, and it was great covering. It was business and finance, which was a great foundation to have. But I needed more marketing knowledge, so I did DIT in Mountjoy Square through the Management Institute for a number of years, and that was a huge benefit. Again, focusing on market research, customer behavior, and of course brand management, which still I hold very close to my heart even today.
And you also got the
And back in those days, we were lucky. We got a grant if you lived beyond, I think it was 20 miles of your home. So we got a grant, but that wasn't sufficient to cover student expenses. What I branded was the typing pool for the Regional Technical College. And I brokered the typing of theses. Yeah. And so I bought it X amount and I sold it Y and made a few bob in the middle.
Oh, that was to be the start of something a bit bigger as we move on. But then you moved out of college into business. Tell us a bit about that and where you chose to work.
I was actually very lucky. Lucky and unlucky, I suppose, in ways. Back in the summer of 1990, there were no opportunities whatsoever. The only jobs that were out there were telemarketing for a number of well-known publications, one of those being Image magazine.
Right.
And now I didn't take the bait. I got very lucky. I was offered a role in Irish Life, and I was offered a role in a company called Litho Studios, and I went with the Litho Studios, who were very much involved in preprint, which we called reprographics. And I was delighted to get the job and start there in September with the company car set up wheels under under your backside of 21 was, was great. Yeah,
Living the
absolutely.
dream, huh?
Living the dream. I remember the reg number of it, Alec.
Well done. That was
Yeah.
good. But that was quite an unusual world. I am familiar with it. Of course, a lot of our audience wouldn't be. Talk a bit about that. What was sort of involved and why it was such a big business.
It was, it was a great opportunity because it was one of Ireland's top 5 industries,
Wow.
incredible pillar. Because if you remember back then, Ireland produced all of, or well, certainly most of the print manuals for the likes of Semantic, Apple, Microsoft, and back then they were all printed black and white, which was fine. But you may recall there were over 300 pages per book. So what we did, we actually created the film that would burn the plates, and on occasion we would have produced the printing plates, and that was a learning experience because prior to leaving Lighthouse Studios, digital was coming in at the rate of knots, and I think digital took off in print more quickly than any other industry in Ireland, if I'm right,
Yeah, it was an amazing place because I remember there was a lot of big companies, and Litho Studios would have been certainly big here in Dublin, in this whole sector. But there was a tsunami heading towards them all.
Unfortunately, there was, again, with digitization, which is ironic because that's what I'm promoting as part of my role
Very
with
good.
Paragon now. It's a circle, not only a circle of life, it's a circle of business. And yeah, absolutely. Like you probably remember Chromelands. So Chromelands
Yes.
went out with the Indians, and then film came in. And then it moved from film to digital. And now there aren't even any printing plates. It's direct image to blanket, as they say, on the printing presses. It's so completely different. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, it just shows you how a particular sector gets wiped out in a very short space of time. And again, if you're not aware of what's going on around you, how the technical world can change your
Oh,
world very
yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, very,
Yeah.
very quickly. Very,
So you
very
spent a
quickly.
couple of years in sales there, but you were going to move on to other things.
I did. Do you know what grabbed me? I loved the smell. I used to go in and I was selling printing plates to printers, and I loved the smell of ink. It was extraordinary. Ink and solvent. And even to this day, I go into my garage and there's now sniff of turpentine. It brings back very fond memories. I don't say they're too long. But yeah, indeed, it was the print grabbed me because, you're selling to a very limited market when you're selling printing plates. However, with print, you can say everyone was using print back then. Anyone from doctors, nearly corner shops were using it to stamp receipt books. So it was a much bigger market, and it was evolving into digital, which I was very interested in learning more about. So the journey into print began.
And also, again, when we talk about selling, and I mean, I want to just spend a minute or two about this because a lot of people are interested. You've never sold anything in your life, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's my motto. I haven't actually.
Yes.
I haven't. I just, you know what? I love having a conversation. I love a conversation face to face. Hence, I'm finding COVID incredibly difficult, but also picking up the phone and having a chat with someone. And I've had employees and I've had salespeople, as I'm sure you have yourself, Alec, and they have a terrible fear of picking up the phone and asking someone how they are, or even more difficult to actually say, can I have the order? I value your business. And I think that's a huge challenge today. You just can't sell by selling emails. It just doesn't happen anymore. It's not an enjoyable way. It's much, as we say, I coined the phrase, it's much funner to pick up the phone and have a chat. I have to say, and I stand by that today, 30 years later.
Yeah, it's about taking an interest in people.
Completely. And you know what? Aren't they? People are very interesting. I've made so many people around where I live, and I've just stopped. I've never seen them before. They've never been out. They're out for their walk. You have a chat, and in particular the elderly people, the 70 plus, they're finding it very tough. And if you stop and say hello, you can see they just light up. There's no doubt about it, and it's just a couple of minutes. That's all it is, and it's a wonderful thing to bring into a small or a large business indeed.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the skill of selling really involves a good networking, but more about connecting with people and you know enjoying the experience.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm very lucky. I've a great network, and then unfortunately for LinkedIn, I discovered LinkedIn, and I'm actually, honestly, I milk it. It's an extraordinary, it's an extraordinary mechanism. You know, like you have to remember, Alec, back 30 years ago, sure, we weren't Googling or researching anything. It was all going through do you remember the golden pages? Like that's what it was. Or going into a library and you looked at the small acetates to research a company, and that's how you did it. Now it's just so much easier now, isn't it?
Yes, and also I suppose we were forced to network more because that sort of level of communication shortcuts you having to do a lot of golden pages trawling.
Oh yeah, but there wasn't the networking great. Now I know you're an avid networker, and it's probably one of the places that we really got to know each other and our friends and colleagues. But yeah, God be with the days. Do you remember walking into what is it now, down beside the Berkeley Court? It was the Jury's Inn, wasn't it? That
Yes.
big ballroom.
Mm.
And then at Christmas, you were escorted up to the 6th or 7th floor, overlooking Dublin City with a glass of white or red wine.
That's
You know,
good networking.
absolutely wonderful, but everyone's at ease. Everyone's, you know, they're all going into their corners. And if you go over and you say, "Hi, how are you doing? I'm Garrett Hughes from Synergy," or wherever the case might be, they kind of stop. And you know what? 80% of them engaged fully. The other 20% didn't. That's life, isn't it?
Yeah, that's about it. So anyway, you got involved in working with a large print company, but also they had an ability. They were sort of a one-stop shop, which was really to be the future of print.
Now, is that in relation to my
Irish Light, though.
current role?
No, Irish Light
Oh,
owned it.
Irish Light Print. Yeah. Listen, owned by a great guy who I believe still lives in Clontarf, Tony Cullen, and he was showed great vision. He was the first printer in Ireland to begin to make his, not only his own plates, but he also did his own color separations. He bought this tiny little device. Back then, it was a big investment, but he
Sure.
became self-sufficient. And in addition to that, he did his own artwork, which is not up to the same skill as a graphic designer, but well able to do pagination and formatting and stuff like that. So the offer that we had going to market was extraordinary, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, so he had a vision for the future, but also so had you because you were getting itchy feet and looking to move your life along.
Yeah, you know, when you're working with a company who are really, really happy doing what they're doing, and that was, you know, doing a little bit of graphic design and filling the machines, you know, and filling the machines can be quite terrifying. I had great interest, as I mentioned earlier, in branding. And you know, you'd have clients wondering, you know, could we do something a little bit different? Could we make this box walk and talk and jump? And I was a yes man. I'd say yes and go off and find out how it could be done. And it let me kind of loosen my mind or widen my mind and make those boxes talk and sing and dance. And that's what I did. So I left there and I set up my own business. I think it was 1995, Alec.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't look back for a long, long time. And it was, you know, the bulk of it was print management, which in turn is, okay, you're creating a very good, unique, bespoke product, but you were always client facing. You were always innovating with your clients. You were a partner to their business. And that was a fabulous feeling. Very, very enjoyable time.
It's one of the challenges, again, for entrepreneurs, though, going into business, that we are also ill-equipped in terms of business until we suddenly find ourselves immersed in it.
Yeah. You can say that again. I went to much the horror of my family. I hadn't met my wife back then. I went into this with, I remember my father saying, "But Jesus, where are you going to get the customers?" I said, "Well, look, we'll find them." And you know what, needs must. You need customers. And it did start like that. We both put a few bob into it, and it grew into a nice business. It never did anything record, but it was very bespoke. Yeah, I faced my challenges like everyone else when it came to growth and hiring staff and rent and rates. And I remember insurance, I think insurance in 2003, I think the quadrupled on manufacturing facilities. And it's really, really, you sit back and you say, God almighty. how many more challenges have I got? Are people not turning in from work or to work? Or, there's
Yeah.
just an array of things.
Oh, I think any entrepreneurs out there will closely associate with you on these things.
Yeah, yeah. Not easy. Every day was a challenge, but even today, it's a learning curve. Every day is a school day.
Every day is a school day.
It really is, absolutely.
So you had spent 10 years in manufacturing and then you got involved in print management. Tell us more about the dynamics of that compared to the other side of it and the manufacturing side.
Um, do you know what? It would be like comparing an architect's drawing room to a solicitor's office, in the sense that you were the suit. You became, because you were partnering with the client, you were living the client's dream as such. The clients were marketeers. At times they were finance directors because they were obviously signing off budgets. But you were away from the noise, the machines, which, I found it a great relief in the sense that, I my expertise was never in running a production facility. I did that. I did it for 10 years. I didn't really enjoy it. I preferred the creative side rather than having to fill the machine. Uh, you know, I went into manufacturing because I thought, oh yeah, you'll make a better margin, but I forgot about the overheads to come with that.
Yes, of course.
Just in sheer naivety, more so than anything, Alec.
Yeah.
But I found the print management, the storage, the picking, the packing was great because you sold for €1,000, you bought at 700, and the 300 was your contribution. You kind of looked at your bottom line at the end of the month, so you're only really paying two bills if you get me.
Sure.
I the print management I love, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah, well, there we go. But again, this is what I'm always saying with my guests on this show, that they go a circular route to get to where they're ultimately going to be and bring the skills and knowledge that they picked up along that road.
Yeah, it was certainly in my case, I couldn't agree with you more. I needed to know more about digital and digital transformation. I did that about 8 years ago. I needed to know more about warehousing and fulfillment, more than I actually knew at the time. And I went and I did that. I knew nothing about importing or exporting, certainly importing from China, yet I was promoting myself as an expert in promotional goods. So I really had to kind of get the foot out and sort myself out with that. So I did an element of that with a small company in Kildare at the time, learning the ropes. And packaging, again, I have a passion for packaging. So I put everything together and met Paragon. And
Right.
honestly, Alec, I met Paragon last May, and I haven't looked back. It seems the circle of life has all come together in the sense it's everything is digital, but we're a hybrid. So we produce design and brochures physically, but we also manage it, the production as well, and distribution. So we're a global business. It's very interesting time for me, a great opportunity.
We'll come back to that in just a moment, because when we go back to the sort of print management end-to-end solutions, I always love the entrepreneurs thing of saying yes and then trying to sort it out. You had one for labels. You remember telling me the story about the labels.
Oh, yeah. I got a phone call from the operations director of a great client, really loyal client. And he said to me, I have a great idea for X Limited, this multinational FMCG.
Yeah.
I said, what are you thinking of doing? And he said, I'm thinking of doing that. And I said, how are you going to do it? He said, well, I don't really know. Will you do it? I said, yeah, I'll do it. And it was an extraordinary project, and it involved labels that couldn't be done in, would you believe, couldn't be done in Europe. And I sourced them in China. I was the first time I kind of did something of this scale and importing, and it actually wasn't too bad at all. With the help of a colleague of mine in insurance, another pal in warehousing distribution, actually it worked out very well. But again, where was the value added? The value added was that, the client knew that we'd have the skill set to kind of pull the rabbit out of the bag and make it happen. I leaned on a lot of people over the last 20 years, never afraid to ask for help. And people like being asked for help. Can you help me out? Do you know Mr. Jones? And you can see their face saying, yeah, actually I do. Would you mind introducing to me? I have a great idea for him or her, whatever. And it's, yeah,
It's
everyone
certainly
works.
it's certainly something that people don't realize in business, but equally you have to be the giving person yourself. You know,
Ah,
what goes around comes around.
absolutely. It's a two-way street, and there is nothing worse than someone offering to do something for you and they don't do it. I have 4 kids here, and I say to them, if you promise to do something, you just go and do it, or say it, you can't.
Yeah.
But it's the people that think they're making you happy at that very moment in time. Just say no if you have to. But yeah, no, absolutely. I welcome anyone that is stuck. It's not from its own business as such. It could be anything at all. Drop me a line. I encourage anyone to drop me a line when they need any support. If I can help them, I certainly will. Never a problem.
I mean, that is one of the pillars in which networking is founded, that you're prepared to offer without any sort of seeking of recompense for it.
Yeah, you know what? The table always turns, and Alec, the table has turned so many times for me. I'm very grateful for that. Anyone that has helped me, as I said, there have been a lot of them. And any of them I've been able to repay. I've been even more happy to be able to do that. People are good, they are. People are generally good. That's my rule.
That's good. So anyway, let's talk about Paragon, because this is the latest chapter in the Garrett Hughes book. Fantastic. I mean, tell me about this company, because I understand its origins are Irish.
They are. Paragon was set up 25 years ago by an Irish chap, Paddy Crean, who I had the pleasure of meeting there a number of weeks ago. It's an Irish-owned company, headquartered in the IMI in Sandyford, where I was for 10 years myself. There are 200 people up there, 150 not technicians, IT developers, should I say.
Right.
And then we have a huge presence in the UK, France, Germany, like a very large global company of 120 sites in total.
Right.
The beauty for me, Alec, is that not only are they doing the digitization, that they are still producing in-house themselves 70% of the time. They do warehousing and picking. So there was a great fit for me within the Paragon group, and delighted to get the opportunity.
Yeah, and in fact, what you have done on that sort of journey to get there is you've sampled different parts of the total experience, and now you're able to offer the total experience just through this company.
Yeah, how lucky is that? You don't get much luckier than that, Alec, do you?
I
But
know,
no,
yeah.
no. Joking aside, do you know
Yeah.
what? You're dead right, because I can relate and understand the design department. I understand the warehousing. I understand the challenges of distribution. I understand with my manager, when there's a challenge there, how you can help solve it. Yeah, obviously we're very much customer focused. We're very much global. What we can do with the brand, like it's an exciting time, and this company is unheard of in Ireland. It was RRD up to last November, 12 months.
Right.
So there's so much to talk about. They do a lot, but they do a lot really, really well under the one roof. It's very well resource company. So yeah, my enthusiasm is hard to hide.
Yeah, well, it was a nice fit for you in the sense of because it's an industry that you particularly like. This is your sort of sector, but you've also brought experience from that sector, from right down from grassroots all the way up through management.
Yeah, maybe that's why I got the call. Yeah, no, there is a good fit. There's a good culture fit as well, because they would have they look after not only their costs, they look after staff. There's a good solid culture in Paragon. It comes down from the top. There's no doubt about that. Like, I'd be on to the UK at least 4 times a day through Zoom meetings and whatnot, and they are exactly the same as you or I. They're out to do a good day's work and do it as well as they possibly can. Can you ask for more than that, Alec?
No, certainly not. And more importantly, I mean, one of the things that you can honestly say is that this is a sector you particularly loved, and hence you've always stayed in it. So I think there's a lesson for a lot of people out there who find themselves working in areas unhappy with it and won't move either.
Yeah, you have to, the grass is always greener in the other field, or the forest from the trees or whatever. But yet, no, you're dead right. I love this industry. I studied and worked at IT for a year and a half, nearly 2 years, and you have to learn, you have to cut your teeth and everything. But yeah, to find myself settled and so well settled back in the communication end, it's brilliant. Like 8 o'clock this morning, I was on a LinkedIn course with the marketing department that sit in London, and
Right.
just going, how you use LinkedIn as a tool. And it's resources like that I wouldn't normally have had, they're a huge advantage. Every day is a school day.
Yeah, but it's a case of bringing, I suppose, what I might call old school techniques and skills to a modern business. And I think it's that hybrid that you get that drives the success of it.
Yeah, it's hard to expand on that, but yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you. I think experience is fabulous. I think if you're not happy doing what you're doing, I think that's a huge challenge. I think you really need to go and open your mind, look around, see what's going on. You don't have to be stuck in the one industry or the one company forever. No one's asked you to do that. Some moves work. We've all
Yes,
done it. Some moves don't. And don't get me wrong, if you're sitting there secure and you're getting by and you're pretty happy, stay where you are. Look, I know myself. I made a move and it didn't work, but you need to get back up on the horse and keep
that's it.
going.
But at least you made a move. If you didn't make any move, you wouldn't know whether it works or not.
Right, yeah, I couldn't. You know what? If you're not happy jumping out of the lab in the morning, that's a problem. That's tiring. By
Mm.
12 o'clock, you're exhausted. At the moment, thankfully, I keep going. I start early in the morning. I always have, and I don't work too late. Very rarely do I have to jump back on the laptop after dinner.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely. I try and squeeze it all in to the kind of 8 or 9 hour day. I think it's enough for. I think it's enough for anyone.
Tell me this, I suppose, as we're coming closer to the end of the show, what next in Garrett Hughes' life? I mean, you've gone all the way through from, marketing, through manufacturing, through print management, now into a sort of total solution company. Um, what next for you in the sense of, I'm not suggesting you're going to leave the company, but what next in the industry, or what's coming down the track that people should be interested in?
I think my focus on digital every day, I think is critical. I think digital as a country is really, really important, and I think Ireland, we've woken up to the demands and the challenges because Brexit, let's face it, is an absolute nightmare. Like we import a lot of stuff from the UK, and it's just delayed because it's horrible. I won't
Mm.
even go into it now. So I think what digital will help us with is promoting ourselves instantly overseas, the likes of selling the Irish products, Irish goods, Irish food in particular, overseas. And what Paragon do to get the plug in is that we can help companies react instantly through digital marketing, social media, and product activation. We have the resources to do that. And I'm going to become, I want to say I'm an expert in digital communications. That's where I want to be.
Yeah, it looks like it's certainly going to be an exciting future, and I think you've probably found your home now that you've sampled all of the other wells out there. That I think you've found something that you really enjoy and can bring value to.
Yeah. No, I hope I have. I hope I have. I've done the rounds. I'm at a nook now where I'm quite happy to just focus on the key strengths and move forward with that.
And if people want to find out more about you, Garrett, where can they contact you?
Listen, delighted to hear from anyone. Either LinkedIn, I've quite a large presence on LinkedIn, or by all means, drop me an email. It's Garrett, 2 R's, 2 T's, .Hughes at paragon-cc.ie.
What a great way to finish the show. A special thanks to our guest, Garrett Hughes, for coming into the You
Thank
and Your Business studio today. Thanks also to Salmon Sound. The podcast of today's show will be available on dublincityfm.ie from tomorrow. Thank you for your company, and please remember to join me, Alec Drew, again next week at the same time, 12:30, right here, 103.2 Dublin City FM. for another edition of You and Your Business.
Great. Thank you, Alec.
How's that?
Good man. I don't know.